So the Gemara here is dealing with another issue about dividing an inheritance. The situation is this. Two brothers inherit their father's estate and split it between them. But then, out of the blue, their father's creditor shows up and takes the portion that was given to one of the brothers to pay off the father's debt. Now the question is, what happens to the division of the estate now that one brother has lost his portion? Here's where the rabbis debate. First, Rav says that the whole original division is now void. He views the brothers not as separate individuals with their own pieces of the inheritance, but as joint heirs who are still tied together in responsibility for their father's debts. So if one brother's portion gets taken to pay off the debt, it's like the debt was paid on behalf of both of them. According to Rav, the only fair solution is to redivide whatever is left of the estate between them from scratch, so everything gets reset. Then we have Shmuel, who disagrees. He says no, the original division still stands. Shmuel sees the brothers more like buyers who've purchased their portions from each other. So when one brother's portion is taken by the creditor, that brother essentially loses out. But the other brother isn't affected and doesn't have to give anything up. It's like each brother took their share with the understanding that if anything happened to their portion, they were on their own. In Shmuel's view, the brother whose portion was seized has to deal with that loss and can't go after his sibling for a new split. Now, Rav Asi comes in with a middle ground approach because he's not sure if the brothers are still considered heirs, like Rav says, or more like buyers, like Shmuel says. So Rav Asi's compromise is that the brother who lost his portion gets some compensation. He doesn't get a full reset of the division, but he does get half of what's left, 1/4 in land and 1/4 in money. It's a kind of hybrid approach that gives him something back, but doesn't void the entire original division. The reasoning behind these opinions is pretty interesting. Rav thinks that because the brothers are inheriting together, they're still connected in responsibility for their father's debts, like they're still joint owners even after dividing the estate. Shmuel, on the other hand, sees them more like people who made a transaction with each other. Once they've split the property, they're done, and each person's loss is their own issue. Rav Asi's uncertainty reflects that both ways of looking at it have merit, so he tries to split the difference and make sure the brother who loses out doesn't walk away completely empty-handed. Later in the text, Rav Papa and Amimar weigh in on the practical side of things. Rav Papa initially seems to side with Shmuel, saying that the brothers should take a bit from their portions to make sure everyone has something. But then Amimar, and the Gemara itself, concludes that the halacha, the legal ruling, follows Rav's opinion. If a creditor comes and takes one brother's portion, the entire original division is void, and the brothers have to redivide whatever is left. So why does all this matter? It's about fairness and responsibility. Rav's position is more about shared responsibility. Even though the brothers have split the estate, they're still in this together. And if one brother loses his share to a debt, they have to fix the division as a unit. Shmuel's position is more about individual responsibility. Once you've got your portion, what happens to it is your problem. And you can't expect your brother to bail you out if something goes wrong. Now the text shifts to a different but related issue. What happens when 3 experts come to assess the value of some property? Let's say one expert says the land is worth 100 dinars, but the other 2 say it's worth 200 dinars. Or maybe one expert says the land is worth 200 dinars, and the other 2 say it's worth 100. In these cases, the opinion of the lone expert gets canceled out, and the majority opinion wins because his opinion is the minority. Simple enough, right? But then we get to a trickier case. What happens if one expert says the property is worth 100 dinars, another says 80 dinars, and a third says 120 dinars? This time, instead of just going with the majority, the court averages the estimates and decides that the property is worth 100 dinars, which is the middle ground. Rabbi Eliezer, son of Rabbi Tzadok, has a different opinion. He says the property should be valued at 90 dinars, which is just below the middle ground. Finally, Akaram, other anonymous sages, say the proper approach is to take the most extreme estimates, find the difference between them, and then divide that difference by 3 to arrive at a fair value. The sages are trying to work out how to handle disagreements between experts to make sure property valuations are as fair as possible. What do they decide? Tune in tomorrow to find out.